Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs. Welcome to my live quilting chat, Tipsy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for being with me here tonight here in Minnesota. I'd like to welcome everybody, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. It's great to have you here. I am, of course, here to answer all your questions live. So make sure you post those questions in the comments, and also your name and where you're tuning in from. We have people from all over the world with us tonight, so I am excited about that. I think I saw a Sydney, Australia, which I have no idea what time it is over there, but so happy to have you here. And of course, tonight's show, we are going to main focus on the second part of our grab and go sew along for the grab and go tote. So we will get to that a little bit later in the show. Of course, we'd love it if you use your thumbs up and hearts if you're watching on a mobile device, or share the video to give us some love. We appreciate it. Let's see. You've been putting some comments up, and some people joining us. Yes, we got Illinois, Missouri, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, North Carolina, South Dakota, Iceland. Hi, Auntie. North Carolina, Washington, everywhere. It's awesome. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, love it. So we have a giveaway at the end, so you want to make sure you hang tight with us throughout, because we have two winners, one live, and then we have a question at the end. And tonight is a very special one, so you want to hang out, because I have a special treat for you at the end. But we had a winner last week from our last show, and I asked you a question: do you sew more in the summer or in the winter? And our winner is Linda Patriarch. So congratulations, Linda. Her reply was, I sew more in the winter, but 2020 is an outlier. I've been sewing all along. Of course, I think all of us have been doing a lot more sewing this year than any year before. So let's keep that going, guys. I'm gonna talk about a couple things before we dive into the sew along. First off, I had a lecture earlier today, so thank you all of you that were joined in our Stripology, Mixology lecture earlier today. It was a great little chat afterwards, and we only have one more left for this month, which is this coming Friday, July 31st at 9 a.m. so Central Time, and then we won't have any more lecture dates until September. Just impossible for me. August is busy, working on the book, finishing up my plans for Fast and Furious Club, and of course, we're going to have a quilt along in August as well. So no time for lectures. I'm just going to push them into September. So if you want to catch on, you can still sign up for Fridays. So another thing that's coming up this week, and I hope you join me there too, a little extra treat, a third live show of the week. I am honored to be featured on the Facebook Live show inspired by Free Spirit. So this will be this coming Thursday, and July 30th at 2 p.m. Central Time. This is something that they do weekly on the Free Spirit Facebook page. So make sure you go to Free Spirit and like them, so then that will pop up. 2 p.m. on Thursday, this Thursday, July 30th. I will make sure to try and share it too on Facebook in the crew so that you can find that link. So I'll be chatting about using their fabrics. I'll be showing some demos of my rulers, some patterns. They sent me some pre-yardage of fabric, so I've been playing with it. It's really, really fun and turning out so cool. Of course, we'll have a slideshow of the many, many quilts you all have made with Free Spirit fabrics. We're talking about Cave, we're talking about Tulip Paying, and Tim Holtz, all these fun things. So make sure you join us this coming Thursday.
Folks are asking what kind of cocktail you're having.
Are you asking about cocktails? It's Tuesday. No cocktails on Tuesdays. That was just odd one last Tuesday. Only cocktails on Fridays.
What's your drink tonight?
It's just sparkling water. That's all. That's all I'm having. All right. So before we dive into the sew along, do we have any questions on anything other than my cocktails? All right, so look, people are looking forward to the September dates for lectures. Good, good, good. And then, of course, later in the year, once the new book is out, we'll roll out a new lecture with all new stuff. But until then, I think we need to just dive into our grab and go tote sew along. I've been seeing a lot of your steps. A lot of you are holding back and not finishing. Others are finishing. That's okay. It's an easy bag, as you can see. And now you can really see how big it is. But it's pretty a basic construction. Hopefully I can give you even more good tips in this next part, finishing it off. So I think without further ado, we should just play the video. So here you go, guys. Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs. In this video, I'm going to take you through part 2 of our grab and go tote sew along. In part 1, I took you through step 5 of the pattern, which can be found in the Fast and Furious family book. And so it took us to this step right here. And we're going to continue on just where we left off. So in step 5, we made the handles, and then we're going to cut them to size. We cut 2 longer handles and then 2 shorter handles according to step 5 in the pattern. We're going to set the shorter handles aside, and then we're going to continue and attach these longer handles inside the seam of our next part here. So what we have to do first is position them equally from each side. So I'm going to move this over so you can see exactly. Here's my end, my edge of the, and I'm always looking at my coated fabric. That's the edge that I'm measuring from. And these guys should be 13.5 inches from the edge. So since my ruler I know is 14.5 inches, I actually just put the 1 inch mark, or the 0 actually, right here on this edge. And then I actually know perfectly where my handle should be. So I place this right here. So this is 13.5 inches. You can of course use any ruler, but the Stripology squared ruler, I just knew would work perfectly for this. And then you're going to pin this in place right there. You can use pins or you can use the magnets, but I'm just going to use the pin right now because we're going to actually attach another piece of fabric on top here. So just to secure this side, and then we're going to move it and do the same to the other side. And again, I'm just letting that 1 inch lip hang off. And then I know that I'm perfectly accurate. Now here, you want to make sure that you don't twist the handle. So make sure you pull it out straight like this. And then just bring the handle back here so that you have a loop and not twisted. Like this. And then we're going to pin this side. And so now it's time to add our second row of sewn squares. There we go. I'm going to set this aside. So the second row of sewn squares we had ready here. Actually, I'm just going to turn it this way. So this is going to get sewn here to, and we're going to sew the handles into that seam. So I'm going to place this right on top. And just like we did with the first strip, you can either use the Elmer's school glue or you can use the magnets. But now, since we're not pinning through the laminate, you can actually use pins too. So not a big deal. I'm just going to use my magnets here. So what you want to do is you want the seams to be kind of centered on the other squares. So we're not going to match any seams, but you want the seam to go straight in the middle so they offset everywhere. So you will notice that this strip is going to be extended on each side by about a half a square, but that's okay. We're just going to trim that off later on. So I'm just going to use my magnets, my Sew Tights magnets, because that's going to really hold things in place for me. Nice and quick. And then once I have these secured, and as you can see, that handle is going to get sewn right in there. So, and then we're going to just take this to my sewing machine and we're going to stitch this through all the layers, of course using my walking foot as we've done before. And so I'm going to just finish magneting this whole strip and we'll go over to the sewing machine. So now I sewed this strip of squares on, and of course the handles are sewn in the seam. What I also did after I pressed it, I just added a little stitch here, like about 1/8 of an inch, just kind of like a stay stitch along the whole top part to kind of keep that in place. Because now the next step is to trim all of the extra soft and stable or interfacing or batting, whatever you're using, and also the lining. So what I always start with is just using a ruler and do the top edge. And so you just want to trim that even with the squares. So I'm just going to use a rotary cutter for that. Then as far as the edges here, you want to go even with the laminated fabric or your bottom of the bag fabric. So I am going to cut that with a rotary cutter just because it's faster. So I make sure that I have an edge of the ruler even with this edge of the laminate and then also this edge to make sure that I'm at a 90-degree angle. And I'm just going to cut this here. And we're going to do the same on the other side. And so aligning the square edge of the ruler each side here, and then cut this part off. Now what's left is this side, and you can cut this with a rotary cutter. Just kind of don't go all the way into the corner. And I'm going to do that on this side. I just want to turn it. So I'm going to do it on the long side as well. But again, I don't go all the way into the corner. And then on this side, again, same thing. Not going all the way into the corner. What you want to do with a corner is just use scissors to make sure that you go all the way in here and trim that lining away. And it's easier to just use your rotary cutter part of the way and then just that corner with the scissors. You can use scissors, of course, as well if you want to do this. Do it with the scissors, the whole thing. So we're going to do that on both sides. So now we have the shape of the bag all ready. So this whole side is covered with fabric and you don't see any piece of your lining or your stabilizer or batting or soft and stable. So on the other side, on the inside, of course, is all of your lining. So now it's time to start sewing the bag together to make it in a shape. So what we do first, we're going to do French seams on this, which just means that we're not going to have any exposed seams in the bag. So first thing you want to do is fold it in half. We're going to do the side seams first. So you want to fold it in half, making sure those corners are even. And so we're just evening up these sides. As you can see everywhere, your fabric should extend your soft and stable everywhere. And this is just really going to help not making these seams so bulky. So we're going to make this even. I'm going to use just Wonder clips for these sides because it's kind of thick and we don't want to pin into it. So you're making everything even and clipping these sides. So how French seams work, we actually start sewing with the fabric right side out like this, and we're just going to sew 1/8 of an inch seam just to hold it together on both sides. Then we flip it inside out and take a deeper seam so that everything gets kind of covered up and no seams are exposed. So I'm going to start clip this side as well and then go over to the sewing machine. And this is really helpful not having foam inside every seam when we're doing French seams because it ends up being lots of layers to sew through. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and again just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch seam on each side, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we flip it over and do a deeper seam. So I'm lucky with my sewing machine. On my walking foot, I have a little line here that is 1/8 of an inch. So that is what I'm using to line up with the edge of my fabric, but it does not have to be perfectly accurate. You just want to have it approximate. So in the beginning, I just want to back stitch a little bit. I take a few stitches and I'm going to back stitch just to secure that edge. And then you're just going to continue on all the way down. Back stitched at the end as well. So now I'm just going to do the other side. So now we have sewn this 1/8 of an inch seam on both sides of the bag. So now it's time to flip it inside out and take a deeper seam to cover up those raw edges. So I'm just going to turn it, the whole thing. And then push that seam out. So no need to really press it. You will feel it as you start kind of feeling your way here. You can push that seam out. That foam really helps push it out. And then I just kind of put my finger on the inside and help push it out like that. And you can clip it again if you want to on the edges, but really this holds, because of the seam, it holds the fold really nicely. So sometimes I just clip it right at the sewing machine. So we're going to do the same thing. I put my finger on the inside to really push things out. There. And so now all we're going to do, take this to the sewing machine and do a deeper seam. So a 1/4 inch seam. And that will catch all of those raw edges inside that fold. So this will be the look on the inside of our bag, a completely covered up seam. So now that we have our side seams sewn and covered up, we're going to do the same with the bottom of our bag. So we're going to turn this back right side out. And we're also going to do a French seam on that bottom of the bag. So we just pull it back out like this. And now all we're going to do is pull this corner to make a box corner. So we pull it, it's hard to show you. So here's the opening of our bag, and we just pull it so we're laying that opening here flat. And so we're going to do a French seam on this as well. So now I have sewn both sides, just an 1/8 of an inch seam to catch these edges together. And now we're going to turn the bag inside out again, just like how we did the sides. And then take a deeper seam to cover up all those raw edges. And again, I just go right into the corners and push them out with my fingers like this. I'll go into the other corner and push it out using my fingers so it's a nice box here. Do that on the other side as well. Push them out. There. So now I'm going to put it down so the bottom of the bag is down. And so here is where we're gonna stitch. Push that seam out everywhere and clip it like that. And so we're gonna stitch a 1/4 inch, and here's where you have to be a little bit careful. This is the bulkiest part of making this whole bag, going through this, especially where you have many layers of the laminate. So what you will see me do, I'll stitch all the way up to here, and because this is a danger zone of breaking your needle, so I usually just walk my machine through those bulkiness, just bringing the side wheel, and so you walk it through and then you can finish all the way. So we'll do that on both sides. So now I've sewn both sides and hidden all my raw edges, and my needle is intact. No broken needle. As you saw, I kind of walked through those thicknesses. So now I just gotta turn the bag again, right side out, and push those corners out. And if you have little threads in here, you can just trim those if they kind of lurked in the seam. Again, I just use my fingers to push those corners out. And now we have the tote shape kind of appearing, just like that. So the last step of the bag is, of course, finishing our raw edge at the top of the tote. So that is done just with a binding. But before we do that, we want to attach our side handles. Our short handles need to be attached because they just get sewn into the binding. So what we want to do is just position them. So we're looking at the side seam here, and you want to position them about 1 inch from each side, from each side of the seam. So you can just eyeball it like this if you want to, or if you want to measure. I usually just eyeball because it really does not matter, and then pin it in place. And again, make sure that you don't twist it. You want it folded, so it's a loop like this. And because it's such a short handle, it's probably better to put 2 pins on each outside edge of the handle. So you want to do that on both sides. Pin that side handle in, and then it's time to do our binding. So you should have 2 strips left, 2.5 inch strips left from your handle fabric, and so you're going to join those strips just like you do with binding. Diagonally piece the strips together and fold it in half, right side out, to make a binding strip. And then you're going to do this all by machine. So you're going to piece that binding to the inside of your bag. So as you sew it to the bag, you're going to sew it to the inside of the bag all the way around. And you join your strips just like you do normal binding on a quilt. And then once you have that sewn in, you're going to press it and fold it over the raw edges here, and then just top stitch the edge all the way around. So I'm going to show you on the bag that I've added binding on. So as you can see here, I sewed it to the inside of the bag, folded it over, and then just top stitched with matching thread. I just got a thread that blends really well into my handle fabric color, and stitch that all the way around, catching those side handles in both when we sew the binding on, and then it's double sewn in by top stitching them in, so they get really secure here to hold the bag by the short handles. So there's only one little step left, and that is to get a little more security on these long handles, because we want them to fold up like this, but all they're attached to now is in that little seam here. So what you want to do is fold them up like this, And I just put a pin in here just to hold it in place on each side. And then what I want to do is just top stitch. You can use the same thread that you used for the top stitching in the handles. So we're going to just start sewing right here and just go right into that same seam, but through the layers. So you're going to stitch all the way up here and just to the edge of the top stitching of the binding. This is where you're going to stop, and you're going to secure the threads here either by just taking a few stitches in the same spot or just back stitching a little bit. You're going to do that on each side on all four, because that really helps with the stability of the handles. So I'm going to do that right now, and I'll meet you back here. So this finishes up our grab and go tote. It is all ready to go. I'm going to step back here to show you in full view the whole tote. So the handles are secured, the long handles, they're long enough to go over your shoulder and still yet not too long to carry it like this. For a shorty like me, it still won't drag on the ground. But these side handles also give it, if it's really full, it's nice to be able to pick it up from the sides. Now there's one optional step that you will probably notice in the pattern in the book. If you want your bag to really be able to stand open, there is a way to, let me show you in the overhead camera, you can pinch the corners. So here are the side corners. So you can pinch the corners of the bag and just take a few stitches in here to kind of clip the corners like this, and then it will kind of stand better open. But I feel like by using the soft and stable versus the craft text that I did back in the day when I wrote this pattern, the bag will automatically stand up much sturdier. So I'm gonna just stick with that and not clip my corners on this one. And I'm so excited now I can use it because I can haul so many things in this gigantic bag. You wouldn't believe it. I hope you enjoyed making the grab and go tote with me, and I'll see you next time. Well, I hope you enjoyed that whole process. Not as hard as you probably thought before. I saw a lot of comments from you guys that weren't going to do this, and now you saw how easy it was, and I'm changing your mind. I love it. I love it. Those of you that came in totally new and this is your first Tipsy Tuesday, this pattern is found in the Fast and Furious family book, which unfortunately is out of print, sold out, but it is available as an ebook on my website if you can't find it anywhere else. Probably the easiest and fastest, so you can download it there. Everything in the book is quilt as you go, so super easy, fast, and fun. So let's check in with some questions. I saw some questions pop through. So Leslie asks, should you pre-sew the handles on before adding the binding? I don't feel like I need to do that. You can easily do that. If you wanted to secure them with some stitches, easy to do. I just pinned mine and they just got sewn in right when I sewed the binding. I'm all about saving time. So that really didn't hurt me or bother me at all doing it that way. And so it does get double sewn. So there's that's all you need. I've not had, on the totes that I've had for almost 10 years and used them all the time, they have not ripped out or anything. They're pretty sturdy. So okay, Vicky says, does your new baby lock have LED lights, or do you have a special light that makes your work area so bright? I don't know if it's LED lights, but it's really a bright light that is on the machine. But I also am positioned by a window, so there's a lot of daylight right where I sew, and I really like that because I sew a lot in the daytime, and then in the nighttime there is plenty of light on that machine. So very, very good stuff. Okay, Karen says you're an excellent teacher. Oh, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. I saw somebody that broke a needle because they hadn't seen the hand crank tip, but that's a great tip when you're going over bulk. Just slow down and help your machine. Just that'll save your needles. Pam says, I knew I should have waited to finish. Your way is much easier than what I did, but they turned out okay regardless of my clumsiness. Oh, I'm sure it's great, Pam. You're a great sewer, so. But it's always, I always say that, it's always great to wait because I'm always going to give you hopefully some tips that you haven't seen before. Brenda says, thank you so much for helping us with your great videos. My pleasure. I love opening people's eyes, and when that light bulb moment happens, I love that. All right, so let's see. Any other questions? Wasn't there a couple more that were there? Anything from you two? Everybody's ready to, a lot of people ready to start, so that's great. Yeah, so your Solaris machine is working really well on this bulk. So yeah, my Solaris, the walking foot that comes with it has a roller, so it works so great on working through the foam and any thicknesses. But of course, there is a little stickiness when you have, when I was going over laminate, when it's laminate on the top and laminate on the bottom. So sometimes you need to help it a little bit going through that part, but it's only that one little seam when you're boxing that corner. So it's that one first seam on the French seam. Once you turn it inside out, it's not a problem. Cheryl, are you going to carry the magnets? We actually do carry them. So they are available in the store. It's the So Tights Minis. So they're available online in the online store right now. We had quite a bit of inventory on them still. All right, Jackie says, Bumbleberries, what line of fabrics does this line go with? So Bumbleberries is a Lewis and Irene basic. So they come out with new colors twice a year that match all of their lines from that half year, or those 6 months, which is really great. So if you have a Lewis and Irene fabric line, any fabric line, the Bumbleberries will go with them. It's really, really a great feature. So Marla says, what physical exercises should or could we be doing as we make this bag? Didn't you encourage us when we did the sew-alongs earlier? Well, as you can see, I mean, this thing was pretty huge. If you haven't sewn it yet, it's pretty big, so that's a little bit of a challenge, and you know, you got to have your arm strength to hold it. And as you may have seen, sometimes when I had to help the machine along, I also kind of use my elbows, just kind of pushing that big bag up onto my table, because my machine is not in a table, it just has an extended sewing table. I don't have it in a cabinet yet, but I don't know. Specifically for this bag, I would say upper body strength. Get some shoulder exercises. Okay, any other question? I broke my needle in the danger zone because I didn't hand crank the machine in that area. Yep, that's what happens very often, because you're going at a speed and then it just hits all those layers and it just can't handle the speed. I mean, I talked about fresh needle in the machine. Sometimes jeans needles are stronger. I use just my sharps because they are really sharp and go through it, but they are more vulnerable than a thicker needle. So I just went with those, and I always make sure to kind of just hand crank when I'm going through areas like that. It also just helps make sure that the machine doesn't skip stitches or anything. You're really going through each seam. What was that pattern you made for your grandson with the panda bundle as I got mine? Oh, that was Lucy. I made a Lucy. I just used a black, it was a black grunge to go with all of it. So that was the background. Yeah, it was not that exact fabric, but same designer, very similar, fun fabrics. Bev says, do you have more laminate? No, we sold out of that so fast. We sold out of everything that Moda had. So, but you can find it in places. Quilt shops will have that coated fabric. You can find oilcloth in different stores. You could even laminate your own. There were some folks that did that. But you do not even have to have laminate on the bottom. I just do it because I live in a place where we have snow, and so you can set your bag down, and even setting it down in the snow, it doesn't soak through right away, or you can set it down in dirt and just wipe it off. So it's just easy. but you definitely don't have to. You can use all kinds of fabrics for your bottom, regular cotton, or you can use maybe a heavier canvas, outdoor fabrics, anything like that. Glenda says, what quilt is on? You're right. I came in a little late. So I put labels up there. Can you see them? They're a little far away maybe. Maybe I should have put it more over here.
Can't see them.
Okay, so Coral from my Mixology book. And then in the corner is Amelie. It's a single pattern. And I'm going to talk about that one a little bit later just because it's a couch quilt, one of my couch quilts. It's not the one that's on the cover of the pattern. So many people haven't seen it, so I have some fabrics to show you that I think will be great for this one. All right, how many magnets are in a pack? There's 5 in this pack, which is all I needed. 5 was fine for me for making the bag. Yeah, so Rhonda asked, do we need to use laminate? Nope, not at all. So answer that question. Lots of aha moments. Love it. Good, good, good. Any questions from YouTube, Mr. Producer? All right. Thanks for the video help. When I order more than 1 yard of fabric, where do you give the discount of ordering 5 to 9 yard? Is it one continuous piece or individual 1 yard cuts? All of our 1 yards are individual 1 yard cuts. We're not able to cut to order. It's just because we are where we are. We work out of our home, and so we don't have the capacity to cut custom orders. So all of our 1 yards are in 1 yard pieces. So if you order 3 of the same color, they will be 3 1 yard pieces, which normally is not a problem unless maybe you are doing backing and you don't want seams in it. I don't care about those because I piece my back in all the time. But when you're cutting background, you're usually cutting strips at different widths, so you can still utilize it pretty well that way. Plus, you're saving so much money on the purchases. Are you going to get a cabinet for my Solaris? Yes, that's the plan. I just haven't even researched and looked at them yet. So I have to look at it and see what fits and works, and definitely doing that. I loved having my other machine in a cabinet. It's just a game changer. So I have my Singer vintage one is in a cabinet on the other side. Anne says, did you use 505 on the laminate fabric? Mine buckled a bit. So make sure, yeah, I did. But I make sure to spray the foam. Don't spray it on the fabric. So make sure you spray the foam and then lay that laminate down. It's still, the laminate is so heavy, so it really doesn't adhere like super well. So that's why I clipped all the edges. And the first step of the bag is really doing the stitching on the laminate, so that's going to secure it right in place. Have you ever hit the bottom of the magnet after removing the top from your line of stitches? No, I have not. I actually try and not have it in my sew line. I have it to the side, which is different than if you were pinning. But no, I make sure to remove it. You want to make sure you remove the bottom too, because that will break your needle. Okay, does the second seam of the French seam go through the foam? No, because as you can see when I was showing you, both the laminate and the fabric extends the foam, so it should not go through the foam. So that's why it's really easy to do that French seam, because otherwise if you had all that foam in there, it would be impossible. Okay, you know it's a great bag when your sister wants one the minute you walk in the door. Hey, good, good, good. Sue is asking, do you know when your new book will come out? Nope, because it's just in the process. I'm working. I'm about halfway through. And, you know, it's just all depends on how much time I get. I'm shooting for like September, October, but we will see how productive I will be. It's you know, it's challenging to get in all the work and to be putting together a book too. Quinn says, I'd like to hand sew the binding. Can I sew it from the outside and flip it inside? Yes, absolutely. I just sew it by machine because it makes a stronger binding for something that you're using so much. But you can absolutely sew it to the front, flip it inside, and hand stitch it down. Not a problem. All right, is the 505 the same as basting spray? Yes, so 505 temporary adhesive. So this is the one I use. It's by O'Deef. Use my favorite basting spray. Okay, answered that question. I think that's it for the questions. Let's see. Anything on, oh, that video? I'm not sure. I can't answer that question right now. We're talking to each other, even though he's pointing at stuff. Okay, let's see. Oh, somebody, I love all of you that weren't going to make this bag, but now you feel like you have to because it looks easy. And it is. I told you before it was easy. I don't do hard, especially bags. I'm not a bag person. I don't enjoy this kind of putsy stuff, but it's really great to have them when they're done. So I don't mind that at all. So I wanted to give you, should we do a live winner now or later? Later? Okay. I wanted to give you a little update on some of the bundles that you saw last week. So remember Reef, that is coming back. So if you were looking for to get your hands on some, I don't know exactly when it comes, but it should ship this week. And so hopefully we'll have it next week. So if you're interested, it's now up on the website. It just will say sold out, but if you click on the product, you can put in your email and then you'll get notified as soon as it's back in stock. So Reef is coming back, and we got more Stratosphere. That was a really popular, kind of one of the basic bundles by Free Spirit. A really cool line. So we got more of that. That's available. And so I have a really special treat. I talked about this earlier. I'm going to be showing you a quilt that's in the new book. But before I do that, I wanted to show you some of the other great stuff that came in to the store. And so we will start with a couple of new bundles. So I wanted to show you this one new bundle that is mostly Dear Stella, and it's all neutrals. It's called Autumn Journal. Now, Dear Stella is really known for their really cutesy artwork, and this is why I wanted to have the Amelie quilt behind me, because this line I just thought would be so cute. So Autumn Journal, so it has all these little critters, but just neutrals. So just grays and lights and just a little bit of kind of beigey taupe in there. And we have mushrooms. These are so cute. And I love the difference in scale. There's some birds. And we got some ferns. And well, let me show you these hedgehogs. They're the cutest. Just cute little hedgehogs. I added this in. This is not in the line, but I thought this print would just go really well. Has a little bit of that taupe, and those birds plays well with it. And another basic that picks up everything else. Also a Dear Stella. And then we have going into the grays. Here's the main print in the gray. And the ferns in the darker gray. And then two basics to kind of really round it all out. And so this is a really cool kind of neutral colorway. Now, we talked a little bit last show about how new moms are really loving neutrals for their nurseries, and this one would be perfect for like a neutral, and then you can throw in an accent color. So if we take a look at that quilt in the corner again, the Amelie, that's what I did. So it uses 10-inch squares, so I used all just neutral 10-inch squares. Arranging all my grays, I just went into my bins of 10-inch squares and started pulling grays and lights and into kind of darker charcoal, a little bit of black, and then I just had my accent fabric be teal. And so that's the kind of look that you can do. And so you could do that with any color. You could do green, you could do pink, you could do whatever. So a really kind of a fun play on if somebody wants neutral but a little pop of color or something to match a decor or a personality or something. So this one is Autumn Journal, like I said. And then we got a really fun line. Anybody have some muscle car fans in the family? Well, this one is for you. So this one is called American Muscle, and it is a bundle of 12 fabrics, all muscle cars, with like a little bit of Americana with it. So I love that it's not like too cheeky. I just think it's really fun, kind of very retro, got some fuzzy dice and all that stuff. So we got spark plugs and then just some fun patriotic prints in between. I love that flag print. It's really well done. And I love this, the fuzzy dice. Fuzzy dice. And we have tracks as your, this is the stripe, but I love it. It's like tire tracks. And then we have some basics. So this one has like gas cans, all this fun stuff. This blue, we have blue stars in 2 colors. And the light blue, and then a red also. So that's kind of their basic. So these are the 12 in the bundle. So American Muscle, but there's also a panel that goes with this. Not in the bundle, so panel is sold separately. And so it's again, muscle cars. It's 6 prints, and they're about 10 inches square in front of the vintage gas stations. So very fun, and I love kind of that blue and red color combination. So for the car lover or vintage car lover in your family. So that is the second new one. And then we got some, before I show you this next line, we got Juniper is something that we're waiting for. We're waiting on the prints to make the bundles, but we got the charm packs in. So Juniper is actually the line that I made my tailor quilt in. So we got these, and I love that this will be so cute for all of little runners, anything with small print. So before I show you the little preview of the quilt that I told you I was going to do, I'm going to show you the fabric that I used to make the quilt, because that just came in. And you've seen the charm packs, but now we have the layer cakes. It's Naughty or Nice by Basic Gray by Moda. So we have the layer cakes in stock now. That's what I used. I used 10-inch squares. And if you are less about scrappiness of having all the prints, because I, of course, didn't use all the prints. I kind of picked and chose, just like I do every time I'm making a quilt. We have a bundle. So this is the Naughty or Nice bundle. So I kind of chose all the prints that I like to use in blocks. So not too large prints, and they mix well. They have a nice combination of colors and a nice balance of colors. So we have the greens, and then we have the reds, and in 3 different reds. I love this print, so pretty. And then we have the taupes, 3 taupes, and they kind of go right into the light. So this bundle is great if you don't really know what you want to make with it. You want just a nice, because they would mix well with other prints. And here we got the lights, we got the polka dot, and this one. So they all kind of blend well. They could also go into one quilt. Anything like, a Taylor or a Trinity, anything like that, it would look really, really nice. So what I did too, so for my quilt, because I used a background and a border fabric, those are now available as 1 yards. So we have the background, which is just kind of a textured, almost like a grunge, but it's a really just nice textured white almost. It's a little bit off-white. It's not sharp white. And then this is the border print that I used. It's that taupe background with just these beautiful artwork by Basic Gray. I love the Christmas fabrics, but I just love the take on this, that taupe background with those greens, just a little hint of red. And so are you guys ready to see? Let me just show you this first. This is what I did with I started playing today. I was sewing today, and I needed a leader and an ender, something to do at the end of my seams. So I had this charm pack sitting by my sewing machine. So I actually just started working on a little Alberta. So I started making just half square triangles with a black star fabric, and I made these little blocks already. So these are little Alberta blocks. Aren't they cute? So this is what I made just today, but let's check out the actual quilt I made that is going to be in the book. So I have a photo of it so you can see the whole thing. So let's check it out. Do you have that photo ready? There it is. Yeah, so I took this picture in the Oregon woods. We took it with us. And I just love how the border is nice and soft, and all the little sparkles of red and green in the border kind of tie in with the sparkles of the red and green within the quilt. So this quilt is unnamed. And so we're going to have a little fun with that, but I wanted to show you the up close. So I have it here, and we thought we'd just put it in the overhead so you can see up close. So you can see that border, you can see the blocks, and it's really fun. Just made with 10-inch squares and all about the magic of the cutting and splicing. So the blocks are like this, and you see a lot of triangles, but don't worry, if you know me and my patterns, it's not that much of work. It's always a lot easier than it looks. So that is the new quilt, and we're gonna have a little fun with that for the giveaway. I saw a question, what does little Alberta look like? So little Alberta looks like this. It's the runner, and it's made with charm squares, so that those blocks will become that. I was even thinking of just making smaller, just either placemats or just little square table toppers with it, but we'll see. So the fun we're gonna have is, let me show you this first, because a lot of people were asking how much would we need of the border and the background. So I have here the supply list for this quilt. So depending on the size, there'll be 5 sizes. So the lap size is what you saw. So that will take 24 colored squares. So like I said, I pulled it from my layer cake, but you could also cut it from the bundle. And then background fabric, 2 1/4 yards, and the white border 1 1/4. So you just get 2 yards and 3 yards, and you should be golden with that. If bigger sizes, you can check that out. A little preview of the book. So here's the fun we're gonna have. You are gonna get a chance to name this quilt. That is gonna be our giveaway question. So let's put the photo back up. What would you name this quilt? This is our giveaway. All you gotta do is answer it in the comments, your suggestion, and who knows? There may be one of those names that I like, and I will actually use it in the book. Who knows? But we also have a live winner. So do we have a live winner ready? While you're answering, while you're racking your brain around it. Jennifer Junkles, congratulations, you are a live winner. You have won a $25 gift card to the GE Designs, gequiltdesigns.com store. So please contact us either through email or Messenger if you're on Facebook, and we will get that gift card to you. So let's look at the quilt again. Yeah, it really just was so beautiful in the woods there. Just loved it. I just loved how soft that border is. So we have a lot of good names. Thank you for that. But I think we have been waiting for something else too. Everybody's waiting for information on the August quilt along. And I do have a little something to share. So the August quilt along will be just like the Hope quilt along, and the Elvira quilt along will have a full day of fun. So it will be the same times as we've done before. I'll go live 5 times throughout the day, and it'll be a brand new pattern. Now, I'm not going to show you the quilt yet. The only thing you're going to get tonight is a save the date. So here it is. The full day quilt along will be August 16th, 2020. Sunday, August 16th. We'll start at 9 a.m. And the last live is at 5 p.m. with a big reveal, finishing touches. And so this is all, of course, Central Time. sewn. So this is what you need to put on your calendar right now. Now, you're all going to ask me, when will we get to see the quilt? When will we get the full information? When can we get the pattern or the supplies? That will all be next week. So a week from today, Tipsy Tuesday, you'll be able to get the supply list, you'll get to see the quilt, you get to see the ideology behind it and all of that. Possibly this coming Friday. I'll give you some more hints, but that's all you can have tonight. I hope you reserve that date. I hope you tell your friends because it's going to be just as much fun as the other ones and meaningful and great. So I hope you share it with your friends and join in for August 16th. All right, so that is it for us for our show tonight. Any last questions? I think you're all... My daughter just commented. She wants me to name this quilt after her. Of course, she's still waiting for a quilt to be named after her, poor thing. Svana, I'll consider it. I had a working name for this quilt, but I'm not going to tell you what it was. I'm going to see if somebody else guesses that or brings that up. Anyways, so everybody's looking forward to another quilt along. So am I. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a while. The last one was in May, so it's been a while, and I think we all had so much fun throughout the day, and can't wait to find out more. We've got good time until we have to get ready. So next Tuesday, like I said, you'll get all the information. You'll still have 2 weeks before the actual sew along, or the quilt along. But I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Finish off those bags so you can stuff them full with quilts or whatever you need to stuff them with. But that's it for us tonight. I'll see you next week and hopefully this coming Friday. And don't forget to check out the Free Spirit live this coming Thursday. So thanks everybody. I'll see you next time.